Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Mike Armstrong podcast show and on the YouTube channel as well. And this afternoon, I'm joined by Gwenno, who's a public speaker and public speaking and leadership coach, as well as a broadcaster. How are you doing this evening, Gwenno?
Well, I'm going to be here like the Queen of Sheba, fanning myself because it's flipping hot.
Yes, not something we get to say very often, is it, in Wales?
Not really, no. But I have to say I love the heat. And so I'm happy as Larry, I am. Yeah.
Yeah, good. And I don't know who this Larry is, but he's always really happy, isn't he?
Well, I like happy people. That's what I try and do in my work. I like making people happy. That's one of the main principles, really. I don't work with people who are miserable.
Yes.
If they're miserable, I don't want to know you.
Yeah, I'm similar, really. Positive, optimistic people only in my world. Don't need those misery ones.
Yeah, don't want to hear any of the other ones.
Yeah, brilliant. And we met recently at a networking event, Intrabiz in Swansea, run by Bernadette, and she's a great person, Bernadette. So usually when I do my networking chats, because I'm a popular networker, and I do a lot of networking. And when I have my chats, I usually know people quite well, but actually I don't know yourself that well, so this will be interesting, getting to know you and doing a bit of networking online at the same time.
There's lots to know.
I know you can sing the Welsh National Anthem well.
Oh yes, I did that, didn't I?
Yeah,
well, that's my party piece. I do that all the time. Yeah, so in fact, one of the things I am very proud of having done through the lockdown is I am the official coach for the Sing for Wales event, and you might not be aware of it, but it was set up by Sarah Evans. I came on board about a couple of hours after she set it up, and now there's 123,000 people involved in it worldwide. So basically, I am the coach for coaching the Welsh National Anthem, and I've just put out a video today which is about coaching a Welsh song called Lliwiau'r Enfys, which is about the song, the colours of the rainbow. And obviously children are going back to school now. So this is it's something to thank all the children for doing their bit over lockdown, because it's been very tough for them, really, you know. But Sing for Wales is not like the NHS clap. The NHS clap was to thank everybody who was sort of on the front line. But the Sing for Wales is for everybody, those people who have lost people, their families. They may not have been able to go and visit their loved ones or go to a funeral. They've had their weddings cancelled. They've lost their businesses. Children who stayed home from school. All those people that we take for granted, people working in supermarkets, the firefighters, all of those people that we really don't appreciate on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, that's good. That's good because, like you say, the front line, the NHS is important, but they have had a lot of thanks and gratitude and fundraising, etc. But the economy is much wider than just the NHS, and they are on the front line. But actually, something that appreciates everybody in this time, because lots of people have had it tough, and at the end of the day, appreciation goes a long way, doesn't it?
Absolutely, and gratitude is another thing that I am very focused on, and something I've been involved with over the last few weeks is Action for Happiness, which is a wonderful website if anybody wants sort of resources about how to get the best possible version of their life. And he is my absolute guru, and he's called Martin Seligman, and he is the father of positive psychology. And he's going to be talking about positive psychology and gratitude diaries, which you may have heard about. He's going to be doing that next week. So I have absolutely loved lockdown. I have absolutely loved it from a personal point of view. It's very difficult not being able to see my mother who lives in West Wales. It's very difficult. All of those things, yes, that are given. We're all going through those difficulties. From the point of view of actual self-development, I don't think I've ever felt so free and without pressure. It's been a wonderful time of self-development, and I wouldn't have, for example, met you had I not been in lockdown, because they wouldn't have done networking meetings on Zoom. So, it brings benefits as well.
Yeah, definitely. And it sounds like you had a similar sort of experience to me, because I haven't stopped creating during the lockdown period, and you're creative as well. You're a creative person, and obviously sometimes with creativity you need inspiration, and sometimes you need the time. And you know, if you can't be inspired in lockdown and you can't find the time in lockdown, then when will you find it?
Absolutely. And in fact, one of the things I'm working on at the moment is I'm working on a film. I write songs, I write lyrics, and there's a song I've written, and I'm working on the film version of this song. And there's a Welsh version and an English version of this song, and it's called Clywch Sain y Ddraig. And in English, it's called Hear Dragons Roaring. So
I knew the dragon bit, but that was the extent of my Welsh. I knew there was the drag in there, which is the dragon.
I'm very excited about it. I'm really excited about it. So that's a positive thing that probably wouldn't have happened if it weren't for lockdown, because the young man who I'm working with wouldn't have been available. So.
Yeah. Okay. Well, there's lots of that collaborations going on where people are too busy a lot of the time to make things happen. But obviously, in this time, people have found extra time, and you know, there's less distractions, if you like, in the real world. So people are working, you know, like my hours now, from when they wake up to when they go to bed. That's my
Absolutely.
time.
As a self-employed person, that's what you do. You know, if you know, but it's not work. That's you know, I work as a leadership. I work as a role model for the Welsh Assembly government, and I go out to schools, and it's called Big Ideas Wales. So if anybody wants any tips on how to set up a business, it's predominantly for young people, but the website itself is full of really good role models of people who are entrepreneurs. And we go around to schools and we promote entrepreneurship. And I started talking about that, and I forgot what I was going to say. Oops. Never mind, doesn't matter. It'll come to me. So anyway, Big Ideas Wales. So basically, if you want to know anything about entrepreneurship, go and check that out, because this is the time when a lot of people are going to have to reassess what they're doing, because they won't be able to continue in the working life that they've had, because at least 25% of jobs that were present before lockdown will no longer be available, really. So we have to move and change and grow and develop in this time.
Yeah, I think to me, one of the strongest strengths of somebody who's successful, if you like, is, you know, I was good in sales as well, and it's a good strength for salespeople, but definitely for entrepreneurs and business owners, and that is adaptability and flexibility. And a lot of people have had to adapt and flex and pivot during this time. And you know, there's a lot of people in their life that are going to have to, you know, make changes, etc. And if you can learn to adapt to a new norm, then you'll get on much better than if you sort of dig your heels in and don't like change, and you know, you're forced to, you know, do things you don't want to do. Whereas if you actually just enjoy the change and the variety, you can quickly move on to a new normal and forget about the past.
Absolutely. And in fact, Charles Darwin used to say, it's a survival of the fittest, but it isn't. It's a survival of the person who is most agile and is able to move with the times and come up with new solutions to new problems. And I remember now what I was going to say. When I go into school, my mantra, and I got lots of mantras, but the mantra I say to people in school is, find your passion, make it your profession, and you'll never work another day. And what that means is, you probably don't feel as if you're working. I don't feel as if I'm working. This for me is fun. It's great. I love it. So, you know, find your passion, make it your profession, and you will never work another day, because it feels like having a laugh.
Yeah, exactly. Like I started my podcast in the end of April, so in lockdown, and it's something, you know, I always wanted to do more presentation stuff, because I've been in sales all my life, and you know, my voice and talking and chatting is my tools, if you like. And I used to do a lot of social media marketing, but not so much in front of the camera and talking, etc. But I've got a mission to become a global speaker, and so I thought, well, I've got to train myself every day to become that thing I want to achieve. And so I started my podcast, and I podcast at least once a day, but on average 3 times a day. And to me, I enjoy it. I don't know why I didn't do podcasting for years beforehand, but you know, having a chat with somebody now, like on the podcast, for networking. I love networking. I love getting to know about people and what made them who they are and what their plans and ambitions are, etc. So, you know, you can't call that work. It's like going to the pub and having a chat with someone. You know?
Absolutely. Well, I used to co-present a radio program which was called Mac and Welshie Woman with Neil McAvoy, and he used to present me as Gwenno Dafydd, the Welshiest woman in Wales. And he got a bit sort of enthusiastic, and I ended up being Gwenno Dafydd, the Welshiest woman in the universe. And actually, I loved that, because what I used to do, I had to do the research and I had to find my guests. And that can be a little bit tricky, really, getting good guests, people who have got a story to tell. But I was very lucky, because I do know lots of different people throughout my various working lives, and I've had several concurrent working lives, really, in broadcasting, education, performance, radio, television, the whole lot. So I do know loads of people, and I had some fabulous interviewees on my radio program. But the most amazing one was Richard Parks, or Parky as he's known, and for the 737 challenge, which is when he went and climbed up to the summit of 7 mountains, the 7 highest mountains in the entire world: North Pole, South Pole, Everest, which is the 3rd pole. And then he also did this in less than 7 months. He is one of my all-time heroes.
Oh, he's awesome. He's an awesome chap. Awesome. He's
I love him.
He was quite a good profile rugby player, but not as big profile as some of his contemporaries. But since he left the rugby, what he's gone on to do is been phenomenal.
Well, the issue for him was it was a sink or swim, really, because he was very down for the few weeks that he was in hospital, and he realised that his career was totally gone. And it was really for him. He made a decision that, and if I can remember what the quote is, it might take some time, I'll get back to you. But it was something his grandmother had said to him, which was basically the horizon is only the end, something to do with the horizon being in the end of your ambition or whatever, meaning anything is possible if you really, really, really want to do it. And he decided he was going to do that challenge, and off he went, and the rest is history. And I have another connection with, well, I see Rich occasionally. I've come across him on a few occasions, and he said something to me which I will never ever forget. And I've written a book about female stand-up comics, and here it says, it's called Stand Up and Sock It to Them Sister, Funny Feisty Females. Look how thick that is.
Yes, it's a big one.
It's a biggie. Published by Parthian, available on Amazon. Anyway, so I was coming back from a run along the river, and I saw Rich, and he stopped the car. He was just getting into the car with his dog. Can't remember what the dog's called. Anyway, and so we had a chat, and he said, "Oh, what are you doing now?" And I said, "Well, I've just written this book." And he said, "Do you know what?" And this is something that did stick with me, and or will always stick with me. The world can never take that away from you. In the same way that once you have achieved something, you can never go back. And that is something that I will remember that forever, because it's one of these things that you just think there's so much truth there. You know, the world can't take that away from you. You've achieved it. That's something amazing. Yeah, so I have lots of role models in my life that I look up to, and in my own work, I work with people who need to find role models who are doing exceptionally well in what they're doing. And my role models have a tendency to be those who were athletes. So my role models have always been people like Lynn Davis, Jamie Bolsh. He's my all-time hero. I love Jamie Bolsh. I love him.
Yeah, I know Jamie as well. I've done some stuff with Jamie. He's awesome.
He is awesome. And he was the one who inspired me. If you see over there, I can't do it. There, can you see that? Yeah. That's me in my Welsh vest, having represented Wales in the 400 metres. So when I say that Jamie Bolsh is my role model, yes, I mean it.
He was doing what you wanted to do for Wales. You looked at him and thought, he's actually doing what I want to be doing.
Well, actually, when I was 17, I was reserved for the Welsh team in the 400 metres. And this other woman, so the first person was way down the line, right? And the person who was in second place, we were just sort of edging ahead like this, like this, like this. And literally she breasted the tape before I did, because I was quite flat-chested at the time. So she became the reserve for the Welsh team. And so they went up to Scotland to do this race and they were representing Wales. And the one who was the reserve didn't go because she was ill. And I could have gone to Scotland. I was so gutted. So it took me 37 years to get my Welsh vest. I wasn't gonna not get it. I'm a very determined person, and whenever I work with people, that determination is sucked into them, or pushed into them rather.
Well, one speedster to another then, because I was actually the fastest boy in my school.
Are you?
Yeah, so I used to do some running. I used to go and do some running for the school. I run for Corpus Christi. They used to have a Catholics meet. I've been to Birmingham and stuff a few times, done
Yeah.
for the school and stuff. So
I went to Birmingham as well. I'm trying to think where that was. There was an indoor track there. I remember running there. You had to go twice around the track. It was a killer.
Yeah. So
anyway,
what led you to the broadcasting, and then I guess the broadcasting led you to the public speaking coaching and stuff. But what led you to the broadcasting first?
Well, it's a long story, but we've got a bit of time. So basically, I grew up in Fishguard, and I was going to be a physical education teacher, and went to college to study to be a PE teacher, but ended up having to leave after a term because I had a massive issue with my knee. I had an arthritic condition which affects young athletes. Excuse me, I am boiling hot here, so it's going to be. Oh, here we go. So I continued in college and studied drama. And after doing 3 years in college, I wanted to have a little bit of adventure. So I went to Belgium, which at that time was quite adventurous. And I stayed there, and I was living there for 5 years. And that's when I started broadcasting. I was our woman in Brussels. And so I used to send ideas back to the BBC, to Radio Cymru on a regular basis. And when I was living in Belgium, I had 2 careers. One was teaching English as a foreign language, which I did in banks and the European Commission, and in factories in Holland in a place called Terneuzen. I taught young women how to become air stewardesses. But the other career that I've always had, the parallel career, was as a singer. And I started out singing with just a basket in front of me. And I busked there for the tourists, bought a guitar, and then went off and started singing in restaurants. I made a record. I was on the television with Kim Wilde. And then I came back to Britain in 1983 because my brother was dying. So I left Belgium, came back here, and that was around the time that Radio Cymru, SOC was starting out. So I got involved in the performing side there because when I was in Brussels, I used to do things with the English Comedy Club. And we'd have old-time music hall stuff and some comedies, but I've always loved comedy. And so when I came back to Britain, I started looking at ways of getting into films, etc. And S4C was starting out, so there was a lot of work. So I started doing that. Then went and directed theatre and education in Pembrokeshire. Because and I used all the methodology that I'd used as a teacher in Belgium to teach a foreign language, and I became an expert in using theatre as a way to develop a second language. So I did 3 terms in Pembrokeshire. I did 1 in Theatre Gwent, and I was a director with Theatre Iolo. So that was running concurrently with all the performance I was doing a 1-woman show, I was doing radio, television, all of that sort of stuff. Then in the sort of mid 90s, my daughter was born. My husband was working away at that time. So it wasn't possible for me to also be working away because a lot of my television work entailed working in North Wales, West Wales, all over the place. So I decided I wanted to do something. I wanted to direct films about women. And so I went to university and did a master's degree. And that's when the research started for the book. So I started working on the book in about 1995.
That's why it's so thick.
It's so thick, it took me a long time. I'm a slow writer. Anyway,
no, that's why the book's so thick, because you've been working on it for a while.
Yeah, I did work for a while. Anyway, so after doing the master's degree, I then started working. I got a job as the campaign manager for Opportunity 2000 in Wales. So I was responsible for all sorts of projects involving women with with South Wales Police, Ramacan and Tav, BBC, and I was organising big meetings with people like Glenys Kinnock, the head of the BBC, all sorts of really important and high-profile people. And then I was headhunted by the WDA once that job finished to come and work on an equality project. So I worked for the WDA for 9 years as an equal opportunities and diversity expert, and I used to go around all the factories in small SMEs around South Wales, enabling them to become more aware of equal opportunities, whilst at the same time continuing with my performance, so it was freelance, always freelance. I like being freelance. I like being my own boss. I'm unemployable by this point, by the way.
Yeah.
Anyway, roll on to 2008, and we had to reapply for our jobs again, and with the WDA. And I decided that the only part I really genuinely loved was being a coach and enabling people to develop and to grow and to find their magic spots and all of that stuff. So I trained up as a coach, and I had an ILM, an Institute of Leadership Management level 7 equivalent. I also did a trainer, so I've got a master's degree, certificate of education, ILM, trainer, and TEFL certificate. So so that was when I started doing coaching and training, and I've worked with all sorts of different people throughout the years, doing coaching and training on things like assertiveness, confidence, and all sorts of things like that. But I have been a public speaker and a public performer since I was about 4. So that's a very, very long time. So that's been happening alongside the coaching, alongside the performance, because I still perform. And this year, I was intending to do my one-woman show about the French singer Edith Piaf. And I had taken it up to London last year, and it had sold out in the West End, and I had a standing ovation and 2 encores, and it was wonderful. And the company had taken me on board, and we had loads of beautiful concerts. We did some in Cardiff, and I had one lined up in the Cotswolds, one in Swansea, headlining in Aberjazz, and then COVID. So I was back to square one with my coaching, because I'd sort of put that to one side. But I think what's happening now is, which is fantastic, is that I have done quite a bit of Skype public speaking coaching with people in America and also Luxembourg. And I devised a method that is foolproof on how to train people in public speaking over the web. So that is now what I'm actually developing, and it's amazing really, because it saves time, it saves travel, it is, I can guarantee anybody that I can transform them. So, and I absolutely love it, because enabling other people to do something extraordinarily well and, you know, making other people happy is what makes me happy. So it's all good really.
Brilliant, brilliant. And have you recorded that, etc., so you can sell that and deliver that whilst you're asleep?
No, I don't want to do that.
You don't want to do that?
No.
Okay, so you want the interaction and the
I love the interaction.
It's not going to
work without. No, it's not going to work without the interaction. Yeah. You know, I could record myself and I could put it out there, but what for? That's not the part I enjoy. No. What I enjoy is seeing something like that develop wings and fly.
Yeah, that's the teacher. That's the teacher in you. You like to help. You like to educate.
Well, I've always been a coach, because when I was a kid, I was the only girl who was allowed into the rugby training with the boys, and for that I'm very grateful, Arwel Owen, if you ever see this. However, what I always used to do as well from a very early age was I used to take kids up to the sports field, and I used to coach them. And I was captain of the house, I was captain of the pony club, I was captain of the rounders netball, you know, athletics, cross country. So I've always been used to enabling people to get better, to progress, to set targets. And nobody taught me how to do that. I didn't need a certificate to be able to do that. You either can or you can't.
Yeah.
So it's been really important.
You could use some online content and recorded content to reach a wider audience, to filter more people into the system, to do the one-on-one, you know?
Well, I have done something which was when the COVID crisis hit, and it was all quite, it was very dramatic, really. And so I was here thinking, okay, because I'd just done a fabulous concert on Penarth Pier, and we had a few lined up, and so all of a sudden everything just collapsed. And when I spoke to the company that were promoting the show, by the way, is called Passionate About Piaf. It's had tremendous reviews. So, yes, and the company is called Multi-Show Productions, and they just said, we are not going to be doing anything performance-wise until at least January. So I thought, well, what am I going to do? So what I did was, okay, so we're housebound. I've got a camera. So what am I going to do? So what I did was I did something called the Alternative BBC, the Bathroom Broadcasting Coach. So I filmed little clips, bite-sized clips in my bathroom. And the only reason I did it there was because it's the only place in the house that hasn't got stuff on the walls. So it had a nice background. So every single day, I did, like you did, I actually scripted a session. I started off with gratitude diaries, which is what Martin Seligman is going to be talking about next week. He is the father of gratitude diaries and positive psychology. So if you do get a chance, really check him out. It's wonderful what he's doing. So I started off, and then what I did was I introduced it. Did the central part, which was basically giving people a tip, and then I would say, tomorrow I'm going to talk about. So it would mean that I would have to research the next day, find something to talk about, find a nice tip, and then I did 72 of those. And I have to say, by the end of it, you could see I was getting really tired. So I was doing them at the weekends and everything.
On my podcast, I'm on, I think, 160.
Woo!
I just posted 160 since the end of April, 3 a day.
Yeah, but the difference is, if I had to do this every day, it would be a piece of cake, because basically I could talk for Britain. In fact, I have talked for Wales.
Yeah.
That's the difference, because I was doing it straight to camera and giving there was content, etc. So I had to remember a lot of stuff, and it was scripted.
Yeah, mine's sort of more off the cuff, if you like. I've been in sales for 30 years. You know, I used to be a sales manager. I got promoted 9 times in 6 years. So, you know, I've had, you know, talking's been my life really since I was about 11. Yeah. And I'm a talker, you know, I'm like yourself, you know, I can keep it going for hours. And,
I know. I love it.
Yeah, and ultimately, you know, I have themes. You know, I got features, if you like. So I just talk about that feature. And some of my episodes are only 5 minutes, you know, 10 minutes, 15 minutes on my own. And then I have chats, which are usually half hour to 45 minutes, an hour, maybe, you know, with someone else. And that's it. But yeah, it's fantastic. I really enjoy it. It's a good release to get things off your chest.
I think it is. And also, you know, not all of us, I mean, a year and a half ago, I nearly died, and I had blood clots on the lungs, and it was a very distressing time in my life. I also, on top of that, broke four ribs. So I spent a lot of time in bed. I was on morphine, a considerable amount, and I actually started thinking about my mortality. And I realized that nothing's guaranteed. So that's why I made a decision that I wanted to do my one-woman show. But that brings me to why I'm doing the bathroom broadcasting coaching. Is I'm not shielded, but I am slightly vulnerable, because if I have a problem with my chest, it could kill me. So that's why I was thinking, what can I do to help other people whilst I am really careful with my own health? Yeah. And that's why I thought, well, I can do this. It's had about 700, 800 views. So it's not extensive, but it has got out there. Yes. And I did feel that, because it's a very difficult situation to be under house arrest, which is what we've been. Yeah. Yeah. And for me, it gave me a purpose to every day. So it was all worth it. And
Yeah,
but as I say,
mine was as an antidote to negativity and to the lockdown situation, and to help people with mental health. I've had about I think 1,400 downloads, but I put a lot of content out, so not a massive amount of listens per episode. It's about 8 or 9 or something. But I only need to help one person. I only need to help one person, and it's benefit. It's been a benefit, and it's a good release for me, and it's helping me, get used to speaking on all sorts of subject matter and building up your own, if you like, lines and quotes and things that which you will develop as you become a speaker. You need those sort of things to draw back on. So it doesn't matter, as long as it's helping, as long as you're enjoying it and it's helping someone, then it's all good, isn't it?
It was all good, and also, I've been very. I'm quite a physical person. Although I have a health condition, I love running, as you've probably worked out. Mm-hmm. I also love cycling. I wasn't running at all because if I fall and start bleeding, I'm in big trouble. Yeah. So I decided I was safer on the bike. And so, all of those things I was sort of reporting back, and I did a couple of things saying, where's Bessie? So I'd be off on my bike, Bessie, and I would do this, stick it up on Facebook saying, well, where's Bessie today, sort of thing, Bessie's adventures. So, you've got to make the best of your situation. And I do spend a great deal of time in my own company anyway, because this is my office, as you can see. When I'm doing public speaking coaching, usually pre-COVID, it would be mostly downstairs where I have a little studio where people come and I film them, and I have some curtains. So it looks like, they're on stage. So we can do the entrances and I can record them, and I've got a PA and all that sort of stuff. So the difference now, obviously, is I can't do stuff with microphone and PA because unless the person has those things in their own space, it's impossible. However, I can take them through the procedure and teach them things like, don't take your mic and go bong bong, stuff like that. Make sure it's on. Don't say hello, hello, hello. Do something a bit more original, like abracadabra or whatever. Do you know what I mean? Those things.
Or calling Orson. Come in, Orson.
That's right, yes. Yeah, so
but you got to have a bit of fun, haven't you? You got to have a bit of fun in life, like, you know what I mean? Like, why just go 1 2 1 2?
Oh, I know. Well, last year I was getting quite a lot of Father of the Bride coaches as well, which I loved working with because years ago I've had loads of different jobs because as a performer you have to turn your hand to lots of things. So I've worked as a researcher for the BBC, HTV. I've also I was a press officer in the BBC for several months. I actually shared an office with Eddie Butler.
Oh, did you?
I did, yeah. I did actually, yeah.
I like Eddie's poetry, when he does them on big match days and stuff. Fantastic.
Yeah. Oh, this was years ago. So basically, I love writing anyway. So, so working with people who were making speeches for weddings, what I would do probably, they would turn up with a blank sheet of paper. We'd get some ideas down. Then we would work on them and expand them and try and inject a bit of humor, because you don't want a dry old Father of the Bride speech. You want it to be fun, uplifting, joyful, happiest day of your life. Yeah, a couple of naughty stories, but not too naughty for the grandmothers in the room. So it's quite a process, really. And then, I get them off. By the end, the whole intention is, even though they may have had 4 pages of A4 to start off with, is that by the end, at the very least, they would be working with, say, like that. But usually I try and get them off script entirely.
Prompts, basically, prompts.
Yeah, no, I try not to allow them to have prompts. I do work people extremely hard, but we do have a laugh. That's the whole idea. Because if you can't have a laugh, what's the point?
No, exactly. Yeah, so so I usually ask people how the lockdown's been for them and what they do, or what they've done in their business. But you've already covered that, so we'll move on really to
what's my favourite drink? Squash.
What's your favourite, what's the sort of big plans, the big goals, the big ambitions? Are you doing it now? Are you there? Are you still working on something? You know, is the one
at a time, please. Line up. What are you? First of all, this is what was going to happen this year and next year. I was going to take the show, and we were going to approach Glastonbury with a view to singing in the jazz tent. We were going to go to Edinburgh Fringe. I've been to the Fringe. I've performed in the Fringe, so that's nothing new. Edinburgh Fringe Festival, any sort of smallish festival which would have a jazz type tent. That's what the intention was. I have performed the show in Belgium through the medium of French and Flemish. Yeah. So all of the introductions were done in Flemish, all the songs are in French. So once we got the show up on the road, we could have gone anywhere because we've got it's got a sound and vision. So we've got lighting, I've got an absolutely international level pianist, accompanist, Llyr Simon, and we have an occasional accordionist. He hasn't been present in all the shows, but so we're working on that element as well. And so there's a group of us really. I think there's two from multi-show productions, then two of the musicians, and then there's me. So it's 5 of us. So we could end up going to places like New York. I've performed in a place called Don't Tell Mamas, and I have some really good contacts in Los Angeles. So I could see that the show could get out there, even if they can't afford for all of us to go out there, or at least I could go out there, and then I would employ a local pianist. I never see myself ever stopping from finishing my creative life. I intend to be creative until the day I die. Yeah. So I'm writing lyrics. I wrote a song for a friend recently. It was called Call Out for an Angel. So we may end up making a video of that one. And we've got Hear Sound of Dragons Roaring. That's happening. I came up with the idea of having an anthem for St. David's Day about 15 years ago, and I've been working on that for many years. I went to my co-writer at the time, she's called Haylwen Thomas, and I said what I wanted, exactly the sort of music. She came up with a good, and since that time, she didn't want to have anything more to do with it, but I've been growing it year on year on year. It's now available in a place called Ticerdd as a manuscript. It's growing every single year. So that's part of my creative output. As part of the St. David's Day development, I am the Americymru World Ambassador for St. David's Day, which I'm very thrilled and honoured to be. And that's
well, you're the Welshest woman, so you know, who else could they give it to?
Exactly. But the thing is, I've encouraged the creation of 3 county banners, Pembrokeshire, Montgomeryshire and Carmarthenshire, to celebrate St. David's Day, and they're taken out on St. David's Day, and they're big ones, like, you know, the old miners things. Yeah. And let me just show you here. So this is Haylwen and myself who wrote the anthem. This book is called St. David's Day, Today and Yesterday.
Okay.
I'll show you here. That's the Pembrokeshire banner.
Yeah.
That's the very first school banner, which is now in St. Fagans.
Yeah.
And then you've got Carmarthenshire and Montgomeryshire banners there. So they're the size of the mining banners. So basically, that's going to be ultimately. It's in a great place. I want the Welsh Assembly government to make me the St. David's Day ambassador for the world in the same way that Americymru has. But they're not taking the bait at the moment. I've just got to work a bit harder. So from that point of view, that's my creative world. So it's passionate about Piaf, developing the St. David's Day anthem, and also the new song, Hear Dragons Roar.
Before you move on to the coaching world and that, which I think is where you're going to go on to next, have you thought about turning the Piaf, the one-woman concert, maybe with the 5 people, into an online event?
Well, I've asked them, and they think that it's going to really take away from the impact of the event itself, because if you want to, I can send you a video of it, because it really is wonderful for small venues. The one we did in London was, I think there were about 90 people there, and the one we were going to do in the Cotswolds holds about 200. So it's not a big eventy type of show. It's the small locations. And I don't know whether it would work as well online, to be perfectly honest.
I think, did you see the Take That thing recently? You know, with the four, it was well edited. I think so. It made it have that sort of grandeur event feel.
Yeah, but the problem is you've got to have a lot of time and investment. For Take That, it's nothing. They just say, oh, we'll stick in about 10 grand and we'll see what comes out. We can't do that yet because the show isn't earning enough. Yeah. So it could be potentially down the line, we may see, but I've just realised I'm going to have to park it for now. But it doesn't matter, because I absolutely love transformational coaching. And I've just finished working with somebody who is in your group, and apparently today he was singing my praises. Did you go to the event about elevator pitch?
No, who did that event? Elevator pitch. That sounds.
Well, the elevator pitch thing was the South Wales Chamber of Commerce, and okay. I've been working with Gary Howells, I think his surname is, and we did just four sessions because I wanted to see how things worked on Zoom, and it's fantastic, and it does mean that I can work with anyone anywhere, even you in Hawaii there.
Exactly. I know you're not in Hawaii. Or the Bahamas, I could be wherever you want me to be.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's the thing, you see, because once you've mastered this medium, you can actually work anywhere with anybody in the entire world. I think this is way more interesting than Skype ever was. And so, you know, because you can share the screen, you can share a film. I never learned how to do that with Skype because it just seemed too complicated. Whereas with this, it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, definitely. But on that subject mind, actually, Zoom is limited in time, and I don't want us to be abruptly ended. I was enjoying that conversation. It was fantastic. I'm pretty Welsh myself. I've got an online brand called Welsh Biz, and I'm a very patriotic Welsh person. So I love speaking to Welsh people anyway, especially patriotic, energetic, enthusiastic Welsh people.
Like me.
Yeah, exactly. And so we will maybe have another round at another point. But it's been fantastic having you on my podcast. So thank you very much for coming on. And just let some people know how they can follow you, get involved in your coaching, whatever. Remind them of your web address and that sort of thing.
Okay, I've got a website which is full of testimonials, visual testimonials that will tell you all about the sort of stuff I've done. And that's www.gwennodafydd.co.uk. So that's GWENNODAF for Freddie, YDD.co.uk. You can catch me at Gwenno Dafydd on Twitter. You can also, I'm on Facebook. I'm a prolific Facebooker, and I've got a group called Gwenno Dafydd Leadership and Public Speaking Coaching, and you'll find all of the link there for the alternative BBC, the Bathroom Broadcasting Coach. And also there's tons of resources for people because right at the beginning I wanted to be able to share things that people could do from home. So there's loads of stuff like visit Monet's garden, go and see the Mona Lisa virtual museums, etc., etc. There's tons of resources there if you're still not sure what to do in lockdown, because by this point it's getting a little bit tedious, but there we go. I haven't looked at any of them. I've been too busy.
Yeah, well, if you tag me in, I'll join your group. And if you tag me in on Facebook as well, I'll share it to my audience of social media followers. So,
fantastic.
Yeah.
So how
I've got a page. I've got a page called #online-events, and I've also got a group on Facebook called Online Events as well. So anything that you're doing that's online, I like to share that on there. I've also got a page called Welsh Events, and I've got a business page called Welsh Biz. I got all sorts of pages and groups for all sorts.
I have as well. It's but I mean I can't remember all of that because but I will, you know, if I'll send you stuff and then you can just pass it on. And I'm in this business to help people. I'm not one of these people who pulls the rung up after they've gone up. I like trying to help people, and in fact today a very exciting thing has happened. There's a refugee camp in Africa that's approached me, and they're hoping that I'll be able to do some voluntary work with them, which I want to do, about enabling young women to develop business ideas. So I would like to be doing that maybe 1 hour every 2 weeks or so, just to give back, because I think it's crucial. Once we have expertise, we need to give back. So
brilliant,
that's
brilliant.
very exciting.
So, yeah, well, you know, like I say, we'll have another chat again, because this has been great. Thank you very much for coming on. And there's nothing else left for me to say now other than just to have a great day. I know I will. And thanks very much for listening. So cheers.
Welcome.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks a lot. All right then. So where are you going to share it, and what do you want me to share? You know, what do you want me to post out?
Well, basically, I publish it onto the podcast, and then I publish it on across lots of my social media. And then I usually send a link to yourself, so you can share it whenever you want to.
Okay, well, copy me in on your thingy, and then I'll share it out then. Copy me in on Twitter. Let me just put my glasses on, right, because I can't see anything without them. All right, Alternative BBC, Sing for Wales, it did that. Okay, got it, fine. So you are